This is the Game Boy Advance SP, and it's awesome. Handheld gaming was certainly nothing new by the time the SP came out, but it was the best version of anything we'd seen before. Not only did it have a light so you could actually see the screen and see the games you're playing, but it also had a really great library of some console quality games that had only released a few years before, think like SNES era. It's got the super nice clamshell design that looks nice and sleek, and just listen to the startup sound. Ooh, that's good. But now, handheld gaming is bigger than ever. It's gotten way more advanced. So I just wanted to talk about the future of it and how good it's gotten. We kind of have never gotten to a place where there's so many options. Because to me, handheld gaming just makes sense. Because unlike a traditional console that you plug into a TV, people are mobile. Whether you're taking the bus to work or you're on a long flight, it's great to be able to take big quality games with you wherever you go. And even if you're just playing games at home, the benefits of handheld gaming really can't be harped on enough. Families might only have one TV, but a lot of people who want to use it, so handheld devices really come in handy here. And if you've never experienced the just absolute blissful relaxation of playing a game on a handheld while having a TV show or YouTube video going on the TV in the background, oh man, you're missing out. And so of course there's one platform that's really dominating the handheld space right now, making more money than ever and just having great success. That's right, I'm talking about mobile games. Okay, obviously not so much a big factor in this conversation, but still a sizable chunk of the gaming audience. There's your Candy Crushes, your Clash of Clans, your Raid Shadow Legends, which all your favorite YouTubers love to shill. But there's also been quite a few console games ported to phones, and some of these can actually work pretty well. I played the first Professor Layton game, which was originally a DS game, exclusively on mobile. And that's just a puzzle game where you just select the right answer. It's the perfect kind of thing to work with a touchscreen. There's no combat or action or anything to worry about. The lower half of the phone screen is the bottom screen of the DS, and the top half of the phone is the top screen of the DS, so it works out really perfectly. I know a lot of core console gamers just write off mobile gaming entirely because things like Candy Crush are so dominant on it, but I think in terms of turn-based games, mobile is a little bit underrated actually. You've basically got all the old Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest games on there, Slay the Spire, XCOM, Knights of the Old Republic. So if you want to play some classic games and all you have on you is your phone, you're not in bad shape. I think that one of the biggest missed opportunities in gaming right now is the lack of core Pokemon games that are available on mobile. Because Pokemon Go was huge, so clearly casual or non-gaming people are open to playing a Pokemon style game on their phone. You don't even have to go that modern with it. If they just took, let's say, Pokemon Fire Red, slapped it up on the Play Store and on the iOS store, gave it some decent touch controls so that you can just select the options by tapping them instead of having to use a virtual D-pad, prices at $10 or $15 or maybe even $20, boom, millions coming in with barely any work to set that up. But let's move on from mobile and talk about somewhere where the Pokemon Company is actually releasing games, although not very good ones. You're familiar with this, right? So yeah, of course the Nintendo Switch is the big player right now in terms of handheld gaming. I don't want to just retread and say things that I know everyone else is saying. Obviously, it's been a huge success for Nintendo, lots of great games on it. Honestly, when it comes to consoles, I kind of struggle to think of another one with as good of a library, with as many quality games as the Switch has. So lots of great games that you can take on the go with you. But actually, I think the experience of playing the Switch in handheld mode leaves a bit to be desired. Now, the Switch in handheld mode, it looks nice, it looks sleek, it's very classy and understated, it doesn't look like a toy. But although it looks good, it's not super ergonomic. There's just not a lot to grip onto, and the Joy-Cons especially aren't that great to play with for long periods of time. So while it more than works, it's just not great for long-term playing. But there is a solution. This right here is the Fixture S2, and it basically allows you to use your Pro Controller in handheld mode. So what you do is you take your Pro Controller, you put it into this part here, like this, snap that in. Then you take your Switch with the Joy-Cons off of it, of course, and you slide it in through the bottom there. So there, you got yourself a little device here that is more comfortable to use and feels pretty well balanced actually overall. And so playing it like this is definitely a better experience, even though it does look a little bit weird. I'll use it if I'm on like a really long flight or just at home hanging out on the couch and I don't want to play on the TV. But if I'm just on like an hour-long train ride or something, I'm just going to use the normal handheld mode just because this looks funny. Maybe you're more confident playing video games in public than I am, and if that's the case, then I wish you all the best in playing any kind of game in any kind of format out in public. In terms of the future of the Switch, I don't want to get too far into speculation, but based on recent news from credible leakers, it does sound like it's going to have an 8-inch LCD screen, not OLED. Disappointing. But unless it's a Wii U successor, which they're definitely not doing, sounds like we're going to get another hybrid. So it's great to have one of the major console manufacturers keeping handheld gaming at the forefront. I'm super excited to see what more powerful hardware has to offer, what kind of bigger games we could get, and especially seeing those on handheld, that's gonna be super cool. But thankfully, Nintendo is not the only major console player dabbling in the handheld space right now. That's right, Sony's Project Q, the device that nobody asked for and even less people are going to buy. I don't have a ton to say about this, aside from that not many people are going to have use for it, but some will, so it's always good to have more options. It's not like you have to go buy it, so if some people find it very useful, then that's a good thing. But I do want to say this. I see a lot of people online making fun of how it looks because it basically is a DualSense controller split in half with a tablet glued in the middle. And yeah, that's all true. It looks pretty goofy. But think about what I was just saying about the Switch a few minutes ago. The Switch is sleek and stylish, but the actual experience of playing on it in handheld for hours isn't the best. In designing any kind of technology, there's always going to be a trade-off between style and comfort, and there's going to be sacrifices made on both sides. With the Switch, Nintendo was pretty clearly prioritizing style, and that was not the wrong decision. Especially after the failure of the Wii U, they needed something that looked really cool on a box, something that would be appealing to anyone, and you can just understand what it is easily. So with this Project Q device, Sony is prioritizing comfort over style, which is also not the wrong decision. Because yes, it looks weird, but I can tell you, having not even touched it, it is going to be much more comfortable to play for long periods of time than the Switch currently is. But at the end of the day, it's just a remote play device. It's not really bringing that much new to the table in terms of handheld gaming, so let's move on. Let's talk about the Steam Deck. I don't have one, so I can't hold it up, but here's a picture. It's a device that's kind of taken the industry by storm over the last few years. It lives at this unique intersection of PC and console gaming in a way that allows it to appeal to everyone. The Steam Deck was not the first handheld PC. I remember the GDP Win was a thing quite a while ago, which always looked interesting, but something about it just seemed kind of sketchy. It looked like the kind of thing that would have malware on it right out of the box. So to have a big company like Valve come in and try their hand at the handheld PC market and give it some more legitimacy has really accelerated the market in a lot of ways. There's been a few similar devices released since the Steam Deck, like the Rogue Ally. Apparently Lenovo is working on one, and the GDP Win line is still going strong. I think it'll be interesting to see, as these devices get more prevalent, more game developers targeting them in terms of specifications. And that can create a really great feedback loop of more games being on these devices, so then more devices get made, so then more games get made for them. It feels like we're at the start of an entirely new sector in gaming, which is really, really exciting. I think the company that I'd most be interested to see try their hand at this kind of product is Microsoft, because you give it that Xbox branding, set up a nice handheld friendly version of Windows, and you bundle it with 6 months of Game Pass, I think you could have a real winner there. Plus, if you can get it just powerful enough to run Starfield, even though it wouldn't be the best looking version of the game, you market it by saying, hey, this new handheld device of ours runs Starfield, and you can play it for free for 6 months, for free right out of the box. they could have a ton of success in a new market they have no foothold in at all right now. So come on, Xbox, you've never made a handheld before. Now is the time. Seize the opportunity. Last thing I want to talk about is these emulation handhelds, which have also, like the Steam Deck, gotten a bit more popular over the last few years. Some of the bigger ones are the Mayu Mini, the RG405M, and the Retroid Pocket. I think a lot of them focus on the NES, SNES, and Game Boy libraries as what they want their players to primarily play, but some of them can get up to GameCube and PS2 emulation too, which is pretty cool. Now, these things are neat and definitely very convenient for retro gaming, but I kind of have my doubts about the people who buy them actually playing them all that much. Maybe I'm just projecting because I know this is what would end up happening with me, but I feel like a lot of people are buying them, spending some time setting up hundreds or even thousands of games on them, playing a couple for 5 minutes, and then just putting it down on the shelf and just letting it collect dust. I think a lot of people have this idealized version of playing retro games when games now have just gotten so advanced that it's hard for some like old SNES or Game Boy games to hold your attention for that long. Not that there's not great retro games, some of the best games ever are on the SNES or Game Boy, but a lot of people say they'll go back and play them, and I know they just never do. And honestly, it's the same thing with actual retro game collecting too. People buying tons of old games and then they just go on the shelf and they look nice on a bookshelf, but you never play them. And hey, I'm guilty of this too. So overall, these things are cool, but if you already own something like the Steam Deck or even a Switch, which has a bunch of retro collections on it, plus the Switch Online games, I can't really see that much reason to own one. So yeah, it's a great time to be into handheld gaming, and it's only getting better. There's more options, more games, more couches, beds, and toilets to play games on. Alright, that is the end of the video. Thank you for watching.